Welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. And this week, do you remember that experimental Vulkan support that landed in Unity? Question mark? Yeah, that's right. Somebody has enabled it. And Hollow Knight just received a massive update that includes even more massive I know that's not a word, but this is what it is. A tease. And it's so good.
Remember when you had to pay $20 for a game of solitaire? No, we're not talking about the Windows Store. And Godot adopts the Ryan C. Gordon method of documentation. For example, there's a Kickstarter coming.
Hyperlight Drifter learns to count to 60. And you can go back and retroactively add one chair to my Fun and Controls review. And Feral Interactive announces not one, but 2 games this week. Only actually one of which may interest me. We'll see.
It's kind of brilliant. I'm Vin Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, doing the Nightmare Fuel, all under the Linux, joined every week by the man up north, kind of a humid north, but in Canadian land.
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me.
And heading up the Portuguese Bureau, that is one Pedro Montes.
Temporarily. I mean, it's been further away.
And together with Shadowrealm Dynamic, joining us in general disarray. Oh, yes, in the regular
It's mac and cheese.
It is. Bang, baby. Helping us form that last explosive bit known as Cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we like to see just what's going on in each other's life organs. We're like, hey, we haven't talked for like 10 seconds, but let's do it again anyway. J baby, what's up?
Yeah, I'm going to Ribfest tomorrow. You got confused about that because you're like, Ribfest? It's more like barbecue sauce fest because the ribs are the
I thought it was sponsored by Durex, man.
Yes.
It could very well be. Listen, we'll see how the night goes, and maybe I'll report back later.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? I hear you've been working on some glittering glue sticks or something like that.
Man, glue sticks are delicious, but that's a story for a different show. I'm doing some digital arts and crafts and shites with some lower thirds, and we're slowly getting ready to change some things here at LGC, all for the good, making things prettier. But I was at Aldi's the other day, and maybe I need some sody pop, so I bought it. Don't buy canned soda because I will nope like a 12-pack in 30 minutes if I'm not careful. But lo and behold, they had Dr. fucking Thunder die.
Oh shit. Thunder.
Stopped in my tracks. I was like, awesome. I don't really, I think it tastes like regular Diet Dr. Pepper, but it's been probably 2 years since I've had a can of that. It's a thing. I'm easily amused and or pleased. Pedro?
I finished the game we're throwing chairs at this week, so I had to find something to entertain myself with, outside of all the masturbation. So I got Fallout 3 working in wine again. It's with version 2.7. They finally figured out whatever bug was preventing it to work with the earlier 2-point-something versions, and it works. So I kind of lost a few significant hours to it already.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that we don't have to keep a clock on because it keeps trucking back in every single week is the horse.
Yeah, the doctor's in, and so the horse is out. It's the ski
update. Oh, shit.
Yep. Yeah, so in their efforts, Valve say that in their efforts to continue to open up that big black box that is the algorithm running the Steam store, they are also trying to combat some of the things that they don't like that people are doing in the Steam store, one of which is developers, as they call them, fake games, pushing out cheap or free-to-play games to Steam and just making bank off of the trading cards. And they do so, and they actually explain how they go about doing that, because the moment they get a game up on Steam, they can generate as many keys as they want, and then they feed those keys to a bunch of bots. Those bots play the game for a little bit to get all the trading cards, put them up on the market, and people just start buying them left and right, and the developer gets at least 1 cent off of each and every single card. Now, they do say that, yes, Valve is also making money out of that because, well, Valve also takes at least 1 cent out of every single card. So, while they will be losing money out of that, they are actively trying to combat these kinds of fake games that are just designed to, well, game the trading card system. And the way they're going to do that, instead of capping the card drops to time played on the user's side, devs can only have cards after their game is considered credible. How is that credibility determined? I don't know.
Magic.
Nobody does.
No, Valve's going to use magic. That's what they always do. I'm just kind of amazed that just the actual links Valve will go through to automate something that could be solved with maybe 2 12-people teams doing basic QA. I mean, it's kind of borderline impressive, the gymnastics that they'll pull off. We just need everything automated. It's like, why? It's not like you're making games, Valve. Seriously, you could sort this because no matter whatever automation system they put together and how good it is, it's going to take, 7, possibly 8 seconds for the abusive parties to find something that smells an awful lot like a workaround to it.
Mm-hmm. And they also say that later in the article, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but this is basically what they said. The biggest problem with these fake games is that they fuck with the algorithm, and not at all the fact that people have been bitching about this for years now, and that's what Valve cares about. They don't care about they care about their stuff.
I'm incredibly surprised that people actually give a shit about Steam trading cards. Like, I get that you can make money off them and whatnot, but it's always like a nuisance. It's like, oh, hey, I played a game for a little while. Hey, some Steam notifications. Someone want to be my friend? No one wants to be my friend. I just have some fucking useless trading cards that are going to accumulate.
It's definitely a thing. Don't care. I got a ton of cards. The one thing I don't like about the cards is I've had more than one person. Can I have your cards? No, you can't. Also, I have a very expensive card that was randomly dropped. That's one of those foil cards that is like not CSGO super rare skin expensive, but shit. All right, that would make somebody want to try to get into my account expensive. Let it go away. No one really cares. We look forward to your hate mail next week. Coming up next.
Hyperactive.
Something that I did very much bitch about in my review for Hyper Light Drifter was the fact that that game was stupidly locked to 30 FPS, and it caused noticeable input delay. So more than one time I got myself killed because I couldn't dodge in time, or I couldn't hit the enemies in time and they would just nope me. Well, that's been fixed. It's been in beta. This patch has actually been in beta for the longest time. But they finally finalized it to fix all the remaining bugs, and they pushed it to stable. Both the Linux and Mac versions of Hyper Light Drifter now work at 60 FERPs, as it should have from the start. Now, with this update, they also pushed a next update to the beta branch, which comes with some controller fixes, but they seem to imply a lot that it's a new Windows build. So you're probably not going to see those advantages.
There's nothing really indicating that it would be on the Linux branch. One thing that I do like them seeing is fixing libcurl issues, because goddamn, I hate when people start bitching, or when programs start bitching, oh, you don't have support for this insecure version of OpenSSL, so we're just gonna not launch the game. Jeez, guys.
Yeah, there's
so
the
libcurl
fixed. The libcurl issue stemmed from the fact that they had to basically redo the entire game again in Game Maker Studio, and they used a newer version for this update. So there were some discrepancies between the libcurl versions that the old Game Maker Studio needed and that the new one needs. So that was causing issues, but they've since fixed those.
There's also the old ass.
Good on that lot, because that was a massive undertaking. One which, why isn't this run at 60? It's unplayable. And I personally believe those people should be taken outside and put down. #LGC cares. But they did it. They fixed it. And they originally said, hey, fuck all of that noise. We'd have to completely redo the game. And here it is. I mean, it's on the Linux, and it's a thing. But
it's beautiful, but you know what else is beautiful? Next generation graphics APIs.
The next generation, man, one of the most forward-thinking, best in the genre. Not really. We're talking about Ballistic Overkill, first-person shooter, standard lot, and 1.3.6 playing with friends. It's out. Blah blah blah. Updates, whatever. Check it out. It's got anti-aliasing modes. That's cool. MSA up to 8x. Really don't care about that. What we do care about, as I'm scrolling down here, is a flag to force the Vulkan render. It's a Vulkan button that was introduced in, I don't know if it was the most recent Unity build. I could be
5.6.
Yeah, I think it was the one before the most recent.
Could have been. And it's kind of hard to really tell any type of difference, mainly because your overlay doesn't work with this. Same thing in Mad Max. That's definitely a thing. But Ballistic Overkill, really, the development team behind that knew how to OpenGL bro on that. It was fantastically performant. Well over 200 FERPs with OpenGL. I do want to give a quick mention to GTux TV because he clearly saw me launching it and it not fucking launching, even though I was setting the Vulkan, a force Vulkan flag. Then I get a message on Steam and it was like, use this. Trust me, we've already figured it out, which was like full screen, 0 width, height, and all this. And it did launch. I did play it. It seemed roughly, performance-wise, roughly the same. That's with the 980. It did introduce the little bit of micro herky jerk. You would just have to know what you're looking for in order to even be perceptive to that. But the little Vulkan stutter, I like to call it. But it is currently using 100% of the GPU. And it's pretty cool.
It introduced far more than that micro stutter, micro chutter, whatever people call it nowadays. It introduced a shit ton of bugs, including like the one you've already mentioned, that you couldn't launch the game, regardless of whether it was an OpenGL or Vulkan. You had to tell the game to start in a window, even if it automatically full screened itself later on. But
for me, I just even if I started it in Windows mode, it kicked into full screen, which was interesting. Yeah. And one other interesting thing was you're saying that Steam Overlay doesn't work. I'm going to pull a hashtag Strider and say I was able to fuck around with the Steam Overlay. It's kind of the reduced performance Steam Overlay that you see in the Serious Sam's or the Talos whenever you have to do the context switch, but it does in fact work.
Are you sure you started it with Vulkan? Because for me,
100% did.
Yeah, because for me, if I started in OpenGL, the overlay works fine. But if I started in Vulkan, I don't get the FERPs counter in the bottom right. If I do Shift Tab, I don't get. Bro. Apparently, yeah. So there's probably something in Ubuntu 16.04 since me and Ven are running it that's causing that issue. Well, we'll have to find out. If you know what it is, let us know.
Hey, man, look at it this way. Considering all the things that don't work on Fedora out of the box, I'll take this one. But with Ballistic Overkill, we've learned two things. A, the team behind it don't test their Linux ports before releasing them. There's that. We look forward to your hate mail next week. It's going to be brilliant because I know this has a very loyal fan base. Not a bad game. We basically really liked it.
It's okay.
And the Unity Vulkan button, for whatever effect, spitting out a port technically works. So
now, I will add that, guys, you should test it and you should give your feedback to these guys because any feedback you do give them goes back to the Unity guys so that they can fix their goddamn Vulkan implementation. So we can maybe actually get some performance by default Unity games under Linux. It would be lovely. It would be wonderful. Give them some feedback. But speaking of Vulkan, Fusion, Serious Sam Fusion has a new update for their beta. They have now enabled a benchmarking utility for the Vulkans, and just for Serious Sam in general, so you can run your benchmarks. One thing that kind of concerns me though is because the Serious Sam 3 BFE stuff is not in Fusion. That was I hate that game, but I got to admit it is a lot more graphically intense than BFE or rather TSE and TFE. So I'm not really sure what really the benchmark will do in terms of giving us accurate performance data about OpenGL versus Vulkan.
Well, this is the brilliance behind Crow Team, because Crow Team only did this because they fucking can, son.
They can. I mean, the benchmark thing is in their engine. They had to basically turn a knob. There are some performance updates. There are some gameplay updates as well. No word on the darkness, the random texture disappearance that happens when you're in Vulkan. Hopefully they'll get that sorted out really soon, because I just cannot stand 135 frames a second at UHD for Serious Sam. I need my 180 with Vulkan. It's unacceptable, you guys. completely unplayable garbage.
To be fair, with Vulkan, those benches they introduced, I ran the first level of the second encounter and just let it run until it finally finished. I think it took like 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
No. You're thinking like Tuesday.
It takes a while. So just let it run. Go do something else. I did. In Vulkan, it got me 165-ish FERPs on average. With Vulkan again, and with OpenGL, I got 98 burps on average. So it is in fact doing something.
Then I got more questions than you have answers because I was averaging like 198.
Yeah.
It's like at the start, the moment the benchmark thing starts, I was doing 200 and something. But as it keeps progressing, the frame rate does dip considerably.
Mm-hmm. Probably some weird texture caching stuff. Maybe it'll be fixed if they actually fix that texture disappearance thing. Who knows?
Still good news. I was a little disappointed. The first thing I did, Control F, BFE. And I was like, man, we don't get to punish Jordan. Dang it. Anyway.
They say it's coming.
It's rubbish.
Punishment to reward Hollow Knight. 1.31 is live for all players. High gang. Big info dump, man. I mean, things, you think this game's almost perfect. There's anything wrong with it. Whatever it was, they fixed it. Various
Very much,
fixes, man. That is, it's just a big, massive, big old thing of fix. But, it does fix all the things. There's one thing that got my attention because they mentioned that, they get everything in place and it's cool, but the next update is going to include new content. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
More
it's going to expand the runtime from 50 hours to infinite because they're going to start throwing procedurally generated stuff at you.
I just want to holla for more Hollow Knight because I'm currently 50 hours in and I'm kind of at the end. I'm kind of that point where everyone got in Skyrim right before the last quest and you're like, all right, let's go find all the stuff we missed. Yeah, more for that. I'm going to make it rain. I'm going to give them all my monies and...
Yeah, you won't need to give them all your monies because that new content is coming for free. So yes, these guys keep doing it right. Now, there was one fix that got a chuckle out of me. They say, fixed issue where rage quitting during death sequence would leave impatient players with missing geo, that's the currency, but no shade. So you wouldn't get the ghost thing, and your money would be gone.
Legitimate
that's
bug.
What you get for rage quitting.
No, I'm just saying. I didn't know that was a bug. I have had that happen. Now TIL.
Yeah, so if you Alt F4 before during the death sequence before, you wouldn't get the negative effects of death of having a lower mana pool, of having a broken mask, since you wouldn't get the shade, but you would lose all your money. So that's been fixed. Good on them.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, it's time to give some blood for the blood god, some skulls for the skull.
Death comes for us all. Yes, it's Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3. Coming for macOS and Linux on June 8th.
Motherfuckers!
Yep, it's almost here. And if this is anything like Dawn of War 2, I am very, very, very much looking forward to this because I like me some squad management and I don't like me a lot of RTS army and resource gathering bullshit.
I was talking with one of my coworkers this week who actually was playing this game, and they did add some building management stuff. So it's not going to be 100% like Dawn of War 2. Hopefully they maintain that core gameplay, though. I agree. As much as it pains me to admit it, I do agree with Pedro. That was one of the things that really sucked me into Dawn of War was I don't have to worry about half this RTS garbage. I can just focus on my goddamn units. Mm-hmm. But this turns out that this is made to wade on the feral radar because you gotta wade through the bodies of your fallen heretics.
No,
for some reason.
I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. You're going to wade through the bodies of potential customers because if you go to Feral's mini site, make sure you don't have your headphones on because...
Oh, yeah, rip headphone users.
Boom! Out of nowhere, auto play music. This is not a joke from 1996 on GeoCities or Angel Fire. Nay. Starts auto playing music. It's like, that's horrible. Let me click this other link. Then... I go to this other part of the page, which starts auto-playing a video, mutes the auto-playing music until you pause the video, which allows the auto-playing music to fade back in. So
and it's some weird music, too.
It is some sadistic shit that thought went into. Stop, because this can be real funny, real funny when somebody actually nopes from that.
Yeah,
not cool.
Can I just say in 2017, there have been enough people complaining about auto-playing music and videos. Why is this still a fucking thing? That is the fastest way to make me nope your fucking website.
I don't know, but Feral apparently didn't get the memo because every single mini site that they've created for every single Linux port they've done has some auto-playing.
Brad, Edwin, the rest of you guys, just fucking
Ellie,
fix that.
Yeah.
No more autoplay. No more autoplay.
Just don't. Okay?
That said, we're looking forward to the port. We hope it's good. We hope it's fun. And I know everyone's like, maybe it'll be Vulkan. It's probably not going to be Vulkan. So don't get your hopes too high on that. But now, one of the most graphically intensive games ever to hit Linux is here.
It's the Legend of Solitaire, motherfuckers. No, this is Interplay Solitaire. You might have remembered if you were maybe around into computers in the 90s. Maybe you had to go to a Radio Shack to pick up some potentiometers or some random soldering irons or some shit. I don't know. You'd occasionally go to the CD rack where they have all the cheap games and thumb around through them, and you'd probably see, oh yeah, Interplay Solitaire for $20. What? Okay, OpenGL 3.2.
Anyways, what a steal! I'll take 12.
I'm not gonna focus on the fact that this game needs OpenGL 3.2 because that will just continue to hurt my brain. But there's apparently like 20 odd solitaire games in there that you can play if you don't want to do a yum rap get install Isle Riot or whatever the solitaire app in your BSD games stuff is. I mean, and also the one thing that tickles me about this is going back to our previous story, the actual solitaire game has Steam trading cards. That just tickles me to know it. Are they actual playing cards? Because that would be hilarious.
Now, I don't know what kind of Steam trading cards they have, but there they are. And I'm kind of wondering, it's actually the only thing I'm wondering about this game. What exactly do they do differently from the whatever version of solitaire clones you have on every single distro's repo to justify $20?
This shit dependent on OpenGL, son. That's worth the price of admission by itself.
OpenGL 3.
It's kind of brilliant. 20 Wet Stinky at regular prices, currently on sale if you hate yourself that much for a fuck mothering solitaire game. All I can say to that is, wow. I'm almost impressed. Everyone should go to their discussion forums and just start busting their proverbial balls for Vulkan support, though.
We want Vulkan.
To be fair, Interplay is straight up dead. I don't even know why they've released this.
Somebody had to have bought the IP because I do believe this game originally fit on a 1.44 floppy. So,
well, hold on. What was the required hard drive space in there? I just have to know. 500 megabytes. What the fuck? What in the actual fuck?
Okay, oh no, they're running. I know. They have a really tiny version of Windows XP, and whenever you start the game, it just starts Windows XP and then starts the game.
It's VirtualBox. They actually sold you a copy of VirtualBox with an XP license. Okay, and anyways, moving on to the last story in the Steam Linux update of the week, we got Regalia of Men and Monarchs. I follow a lot of voice actors on Twitter because I like to see what kind of stuff actors I'm into are acting in, and this was one of them. Periodically, I check if they have Linux support. This one does, and it's a tactical RPG, which I love. Yes. It is cracked to me. Yeah, you go take a nap, Ben. I'm gonna go talk to the people. This is a game where you have to defeat opponents. You gotta make claims on thrones and whatnot. There's a whole plot. I just like turn-based strategy with the grid. It supports Linux. This is actually a Kickstarter that has delivered. It's not early access. All the points are there. It just needs to have some decent gameplay. The price is a bit steep at $30, but it is fully voice acted. So that is definitely a thing.
Yeah, apparently and it's more tactics games for Linux, so I like you very much. Now, there was one thing that kind of raised an eyebrow on my face, which was the recommended memory requirements. 6 gigabytes of RAM. What?
What?
It's a Unity game.
Wait a minute. What? I mean, you're talking about something that's 2D art with the voice acting, and you can gloss over the 5 gigajoules you need to install the damn thing, but the 6 gigs of RAM throw you off?
That I can excuse because, it's 5 gigs, it's a Unity game, sure, whatever.
Listen, we live in the world. We live in the world where Solitaire needs 500 megabytes of storage.
Mm-hmm.
This should come to no surprise to you at all.
Okay, fair enough. 6 gigs of RAM, though.
At least it doesn't need OpenGL 3.2. All right. All right, this fustercluck is over. Coming up next, we talk about merging OpenCL into Vulkan, which makes NVIDIA very, very angry. Very angry.
I was commanded to use my big boy voice, so I will probably not talk like this for the rest of the show because at some point I'll forget and I'll just not give a damn. So, would you like to throw some money at our heads to...
Nope.
Maybe eventually at some point cause some damage? Well, you can do that. Patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. Jordan.
I know, it's a little mental that week after week people just keep giving us money. We keep like spending it on drugs and Velveeta cheese. Like
lots of booze.
We have so much cheese, it's starting to go bad. It's kind of smelly. But if you head on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast, you can help fund this distortion. 5 cents a show gets you access to a lot of cool stuff. You get early access to some videos. You get our Doctor Who podcast that we record. You get the access to the LGC pre-shows and where we just bullshit before we go live. It's pretty mental. We gotta thank some lovely, lovely people. Carl Schneider and Mr. Mango, who has updated his Patreon. But if you don't want to go the Patreon route, you say, we don't want to support small businesses using small businesses. We want to go through a faceless corporation. Well, we got you covered, Brad. You can head on over to Patreon or LinuxGameCast.com. Click on the support the show button. We got Amazon affiliate links, so you can just go buy stuff from Amazon. We got an Amazon wish list that Erod20 bought some stuff from. We got a new green screen. That's pretty mental. We got PayPal Domato buttons. We got a QR code that if you scan it with your phone, you can send us some magical internet monies. It's kind of brilliant. So thanks a lot, you guys. We literally cannot do this stuff without you. We get the Tuesday and Thursday streams where we play some video games with y'all. It's good fun, and it's all thanks to your money.
It is. They're insane. They're beautiful. And they're keeping us loud, live, independent. We got it's the black screen. We got some
racist.
Yeah. Hey man, shut up. Looking forward to a green screen because that would be a horrible idea. We'd never do anything terrible with that. Thanks everyone. Currently, all the patrons that we have, anybody who's ever kicked in, and especially everyone ordering through the Amazon affiliate links. Man, that's starting to add up. Special thanks to Erod for that, and also for the blinding lights that are causing me physical pain. Jill and Steve, I've renamed them. This one here on the left, Steve. This one on the right is Jill. It is quite brilliant. But
Vulkan button?
Our Canadian buddy Scott did a thing, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So, you guys talked about it on the Wednesday show, but we're covering it here because some people don't listen to that. But with the OpenCL 2.2 release, or press release rather, they are discussing the possibilities of merging OpenCL and Vulkan into a single language, which would have a lot of good advantages, such as providing a single point for people to write their shaders or simulations. It would make debugging and cross-platform stuff a lot easier because, again, it is all one single API. And it would give a big ol' fuck you to NVIDIA, who's trying to both support Vulkan and push their OpenCL competitor, CUDA. So, if they're going to be supporting their competition, they are not going to be too happy. They might just go full DirectX 12 about this. I don't really know all that much. And the other thing to mention, though, is OpenCL is actually kind of an Apple-dominated technology. I can see that a lot of scientific applications or just companies in general do not like being beholden to OS 10 and their particular bullshittery, especially when they can't even get a functional OpenGL implementation up and running. But what do you guys think about it?
Well, it was the thing that it was actually Fen that brought up on the Wednesday show, which was the fact that right at the end of the article, Scott says, more importantly, SYCL is something that Microsoft cannot provide with today's DirectX or DirectX 12, as is the case. So that's good. That's another win for Vulkan, and
challenge accepted. They're just gonna release a crappier version that integrates with Visual Studio and does half your work for you. It's like this freaking Windows Linux compatibility layer. It's there so that people who are working in Visual Studio don't have to expend brain effort to actually port their applications.
And then you don't get any of the performance benefits that you would if you
But my Visual Studio, Pedro. My Visual Studio, I need it. I can't program without it.
You can't program. Period.
Listen, it's a thing. It was in the news, so we covered it. But now let's get back to gaming.
Yes, Humble Bundle. This is actually kind of exciting because this is one of the first Humble Bundles that might actually be worth your money. This is Humble Bundle 18. It's the indie bundle, so that Strider won't go crawl up my butt and be like, it's only indie bundles have all cross-platform games. You can get some cool stuff with it. You get Ziggurat, which actually, that key, Milkstone Studios have said, we kind of made a mistake and gave you a key for both Ziggurat and Little Racer Street. So you can grab those games.
Bonus mistake.
Bonus soda, you can get Windward and SteamWorld Heist for the pay what you want level. If you pay about $7.50, you get Kentucky Route Zero, Beholder, the full kit and caboodle for Goat Stimulator, and if you want to pay $13, you can get Owlboy, which is a pretty good deal because Owlboy usually retails for about $20. So you get a good amount of game. And
it's like 20 or $24 if you haven't played the Owlboys and you're looking forward to that. And with all humbly bundles, I mean, it's DRM free. You get your GOG copies, you get your Steam keys. Pedro, were there some first-time games on the Linux with this bundle? I didn't know.
No. As far as I could tell, the only game I'd never heard about was Beholder, and that turns out it had come out on Steam a couple of months ago. So, I don't know. Maybe in 2 days and 18 hours at the time of recording, they will introduce some new Linux games, but I doubt it because what they tend to do is include games from previous Humble Bundles. So, remains to be seen, but hey,
it'll
value-added.
Definitely be interesting. I said that on our Wednesday show was, sorry, not sorry. Because billions of years ago in the future's past, when we didn't have any Linux games, and like the first, 5 Humble Bundles, those came out. It's like, yes, because that was basically your games to play for the year. And
Yep.
Fast forward to 2017, it's still a great thing. Humble, we do love it. It comes up like, I think I already own a couple of those. And it's like, I can take or leave the other ones. It's kind of strange. It's kind of a bizarre world we're living in.
Yeah, if you look at Steam right now, we have over 3,000 games on Linux. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, like, most of these games fared well in the CHAIRQUISITION. Humble's out of the porting business now. They're just out of selling you the same games over and over and over again. Because you guys need to sign up for Humble Monthly, you guys. No.
Hey, man, don't worry about my Guyana Sisters port's coming any day now. Don't worry about it.
Any day. But, at least GOG has a good history, track record of Linux support, right?
Get good or get GOG. Hey, man, this comes from Games_Nebula from Jan Karkin. That's a thing. So, unofficial Linux client for the GOGs. There was install here for Debian, the Ubuntu, it's all the Python. I installed it, put it together, and launched it, and couldn't connect to GOG. And Strider wrote in the show notes, he was like, there's a reason it couldn't connect because GOG's a pain in the ass that you basically have to use their own web login to make the damn thing work, and he would know. Because he is the author and also our co-host on Wednesdays of Lutris, which has to hack around GOG's bullshittery which kind of puts us back to where we originally were with no GOG client.
Yeah, and in fact, Lutris does a much better job of connecting to GOG than this thing, because as Strider says in the comment he left us in the show notes, in Lutris, he actually creates a little WebKit window to show you the two-factor authentication, and the captchas if you get a captcha for some reason. So it'll show you that window and let you log in properly. So yes, Lutris is a better GOG client than this.
I would also add that Lutris is a much better GOG client because it will actually launch your GOG games in a proper version of Wine as opposed to that bullshit that they package that doesn't kind of work if you actually want to play some Heretic purchase games or maybe some free ones that you picked up.
Oh, and just a little bit of an aside, gentlemen. I think captchas are slightly getting out of hand. I ran into one. Lately, I've been getting the ones like click on the pictures of gas stations and stuff like that, right? A petrol station. Yep. This one hit me out of nowhere. It's like, draw around the sign where the sign is. Like it was point click and you had to outline the sign. It's like, that's getting a bit much.
God damn it, Google. Stop getting us to train your stupid artificial intelligence. It's already smart enough as it is.
I mean, I'm surprised it didn't ask for a picture of my wing.
But no one's going to ask for a picture of your Wang, nor are we getting shown some new Wang, as the case may be. So there was that speculation that made to Wade, because it had the Japanese kanji, I guess, for T, and it was the caption that Feral had on their radar was made to Wade. Now there's Wade script, which is the way that you translate Chinese to regular just Oriental characters. So everyone was saying, "Oh, it's Wang. It's Lo Wang is coming back because he's half Chinese, half Japanese, and he drinks tea in order to recover health." Well, no. There were two things that could have possibly been it. One of them was Spice Club, but that turned out to be Shogun 2, Total War. So that wasn't it. And even after this one came out, that was Spice Club, and then people were going, "Oh, maybe Made to Wade is still Wang," but no, it's not. Shadow Warrior 2 is not being done by Feral, apparently, because Made to Wade was, in fact, as we mentioned earlier, Dawn of War 3. So, what?
Heretic! Yeah, no,
I'm serious.
I mean, I really don't care about. I don't really care about Total War or either of its expansions. Every time these come across our desks for the Chairquisition, they all don't fare really well because none of us are actually a fan of that style of RTS. No. And they're just not very fun games.
No, I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, it's Total War Shogun 2, Fall of the Samurai. It's coming May 23rd. And, hey, it's a thing. Here's the thing, man. The Total War series is a lot like Civ. You either get it or you don't. There's not people that are like, yeah, I can take it or leave it. It's either your thing. To me, the Total War series, Feral's done an okay job. I mean, all the ports have been fine. But for me, the Total War series is basically the same fucking game with different texture packs, and it's kind of hard to make an argument against that, which I know you can, and I look forward to reading it next week. But,
well, we mentioned it, and here it is. It's Lutris! Yes, there's a new catch-up version coming out. Apparently, it's not as dead as we originally thought. Version 0.4.10 is available, and it removes PCSXR in favor of PCS Rearmed running through RetroArch. It also brings back ScumVM, and it introduces D-Input 8 for those games that need it, those wine games that use D-Input instead of X-Input. So you could map those D-Input 8s with X360 CE, and the way that Strider integrated that into Lutris is very good. It's not exactly SC controller level yet, but it's all right. And it works. It's if you want to play a wine game and you don't want to waste 20, 30 minutes of your life setting up the prefix and getting all the dependencies and setting everything up, Lutris, one click, go away, come back. Done.
Yeah, Steve brings up a good point. If you want to continue supporting Strider and his frickin' nightmare fuel, you can head over to patreon.com/Lutris.
Yes.
This is not our whoring out segment. This is us whoring out Strider. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
But
he deserves it.
It's a really good. I mean, hell, he adds freaking Lutris Run game URL support, so that's a nice thing. You can launch stuff from links. It's pretty nifty, and it's a good project, and it's way better than freaking GOG Nebula or whatever the hell they're saying.
Okay, so apparently someone else is shilling out for money.
Yeah. Speaking of whoring yourselves out, Godot, we love it. It's a great little open source game engine. I was talking to some game devs over the last weekend, and I was ecstatic to find out that they were using Godot. And I think more people should. Now, you may be asking, hey, Jordan, how do I get into programming this? Well, they're starting up a Kickstarter to put together some lovely little courses for learning Godot. It's going to be starting on May 22nd, this coming Monday, so it's probably live when you're listening to this nonsense, or maybe a little later. You're going to get a 30-day tutorial challenge. If the Kickstarter goes well, they're going to get one free tutorial every day for the run of it. It's going to be pretty good. More people should be using Godot. It is an awesome source available engine. It's actually entirely open source. It's not even source available. So getting people educated on it is one of the best things that can happen. I would rather people use Godot to learn game programming than Unity. That's
on the Unity topic, I definitely plan on contacting them to see if I can do a tutorial video on how to recreate Godot inside of Unity. I think that will.
Remember, you can't ask Foxy for help because after the LEDWorks thing, you kind of burned him on that.
Good old. Hey, and these guys don't even need a Linux demo because their shit already works on Linux.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, one might make the argument that there is a Linux demo already. It's called Brick Simulator. There's a link in the show notes. Find it.
All right. So coming up next, hashtag physics. Ben, tell us about it.
Hey man, blast from the past. That's right. We're about to talk about a developer called Muckyfoot. You're like, that sounds so familiar. Yes, Urban Chaos, originally published by Eidos Interactive. This is like Tomb Raider in the City back in the dark ages of 1999. Originally released for PC, PSX, Dreamcast. Homeboy, our good friend here,
Dizzy
2003, if that is his real name. So
Mike
hey,
Diskett is his real name.
This is the complete source code. I'm just dumping it out so it's online and it doesn't die. And it's absolutely a thing. And it's all floating around in there. Urban Chaos, we got some pictures. If you're watching and not listening, what can you pick up? So you can basically get the assets files for $6.99. What is it? It throws you into the heart of a modern urban junk. It's Tomb Raider in the City is what this is. With some very, very, some old school PlayStation...
It combines those 2D pixely sprites with 3D rendered worlds. Looks weird.
No, I'm definitely a fan of it. I'm kind of curious to dig around the code. And Jordan, you pointed out, it's like, does it build on Linux? It's like, absolutely not, but it's there, which means it probably will. I was half tempted to call up G-Money, old Icky Butts, and be like, hey, man, you do anything this weekend? He's like, why? Like, you are now.
Like,
right.
Are you contributing to my Patreon there, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not flip it. Our Brian C has a Patreon too. We talked about it before, but yeah, go give him money. Give everyone money, especially us.
Yes.
This thing has physics apparently. I don't even know how that factors into the game. Is it like Postal 2 where you can just piss on shit?
I don't know. I'm just glad it's there, and I couldn't get a clear thing. I didn't have enough time to look through everything. It was released on PC much in 2000 or something like that. I don't think the Dreamcast port was ever released, or it might have been the PlayStation portable version, but the source code's there for the entire kit.
Yeah, and it took when the source code for Jedi Knight leaked, it took people a whole of 2 weeks to get a Linux version fully up and running.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's new.
It's the power of open source. Absolutely.
Yep.
But then I got a itch. Can you scratch it? Okay.
No, man. Open marketplaces can work. The founder of Itch.io, Leaf, not trying that last name, discusses the past, present, and future of indie-friendly storefront and why Steam doesn't have any real competition. Because, yeah, Steam was first. How do you win? You be the first, man. This is basically just talking through what Itch.io has done. They've kind of started... How do I want to put this? Itchy was just like, meh. It was always around. Wasn't never a big thing until Desura came out, I think right around that time. And Desura showed that, hey, man, you can't really compete with Steam, but you can do something different. Then Desura died in a fire. And
then it died again.
Right, it died twice. Lag, boom, they blew it away again. And now Greenlight's about to go away. So all the stuff that can't get on Steam is about to start diving into Itch.io, and I kind of feel bad about that. But that's going to force them to step up their game. But it's kind of an interesting article just going through. It's like, Steam's the 1,000-pound gorilla, but we're trying to do our own thing. And, it's a lot more community developed as opposed to the mysterious black box that is Steam. And we all know that really the only way that Steam could ever have a competitor, I know this will never happen, is if Blizzard takes on Steam. If they turn Battle.net.
If Blizzard starts, offering Linux support, that would be... I will eat my shoe.
Well, yeah, but the fact of the matter is, there is a non-Blizzard, non-Activision game on Battle.net now, so it's starting. But going back to the article,
Destiny.
He actually says that he has a strong feeling that Steam will probably be completely open at some point in the future. And in the meantime, they're just taking in those people that can't get on Steam. But he does say that there are a lot of games that just promote something that it just can't stand behind. And you will never allow games that promote hate speech, that promote certain not appropriate for live content. And he's not about to compromise that just to take in all of the green light rejects just for the sake of itch. He has a vision of what it should be, and it's not completely open, but it's pretty open so long as you're not cunt.
Yeah. It's an interesting story about how an idealistic project can start off with good thoughts and ideals and how it leads to making all sorts of compromises for the sake of usability and adoption. But like Ven said, now that Desura has been mismanaged into oblivion, i.e. not paying their developers, it seems to be the last bastion for a bunch of these indie devs. And I think it's just going to continue to thrive regardless of whether or not Steam tries to take any shots at them.
Well,
because
I think it's going to be interesting.
People don't want to deal with Steam's bullshit half the time.
No, they don't. And it's going to be interesting to see if Itchy can pull off what Valve failed horribly at with their greenlight system. I think they can if they have actual curation, as opposed to algorithms and bullshit and gaming the system and relying on automated systems. I think if Itch.io takes a legitimate approach to curation and weeding out the bullshit, we might be able to see something in a few years. Because, I mean, it was a running joke. We used to say Itch.io was, where games went that couldn't get on Desura, because anybody could get on Desura back in the day. And now that that's gone, I'm thinking good things, man. Just thinking good things.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe one day Desura will start saying, well, we need to start leveraging our community and we need to start having a legitimate and dedicated curation effort. But today is not that day. So coming up last, Dolphin wants to get rid of D3D12. That's right. This is a thread from their GitHub. The links to all this crap in our show notes, by the way. They're saying that, Vulkan supports a lot more platforms. It doesn't support as much hardware. Apparently, there are some Intel GPUs that support DirectX 12 that do not currently support Vulkan.
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA? Which ones?
Yeah. The 400 series supports DirectX 12. But it doesn't support.
I think that's a driver thing, because anything that supports GLES 3.1, which the 400 series,
it's a driver thing, and this is NVIDIA we're talking about. So unless Nuvo catches up anytime soon,
Well, here's another big thing, man. Listen,
but
hey, Skylake, Skylake integrated chips, dude. It's not going to work on that. That's a big problem right now.
True, but either way, what they're going on about is. They're probably going to keep DirectX 12 in for the meanwhile, but they do want to focus all their efforts on the Vulkan development, and they're going to keep it until DirectX 12 becomes burdensome to maintain. And there's a whole thread that's discussing the various drivers that do or do not support it. There's some talk about Mesa in there as well. But these guys are on the right track, though, because Vulkan does support a lot more platforms. It allows you to write your code once and have it run on a lot of things. Plus, it opens up having, maybe in the far future, when ARM processors get a little more beefy, maybe some Wii and GameCube emulation on the Androids. That would definitely be a cool thing.
Judging by the votes and a comment from LinuxGameCast 2 days ago, apparently it's being pulled out as we speak, or at least they're phasing out support completely, because the suggestion, the top comment issue thing has 33 upvotes and 3 downvotes. So I'm
pretty sure this guy doesn't want to maintain it either, because it requires installing Visual Studio. And that's just a big...
There's got to be a lot of things, especially with the sexy sauce with the Vulkan. DX12 came out and not everyone, because you don't even see a bunch of Winbros that are still piping the DX12. Like,
of course not.
Because logically, the only reason you would target DX12 is Project Scorpio. That's it. That's your singular fucking use case for DX12, and to have a valid argument behind your use case. Everyone else is kind of derped over to the Vulkans, and yeah, who wants extra dingly bits, giggity, messing around? And hey, I've said it. I don't think I was the first to say it. I don't know who else has said it. But DX12's dead. It just doesn't know it yet. I'm not saying that as a Vulkan zealot. I'm just like looking at this logically. And yeah, DX12's a non-starter. Vulkan, we finally, I believe, have fucking beaten, not us collectively, but the Kronos group has fucking beaten Microsoft's proprietary bullshit for a change.
I mean, the moment Doom basically proved that a lot. People were wowed by the performance of the Vulkan renderer in Doom, and I think that has proved to a lot of game developers and engine developers, hey, this is probably the way we want to move forward.
And there's a reason we now have a Vulkan renderer in Unity and not a DirectX 12 one.
Indeed. Yeah. Again, it makes it so that you only have to write the shader code once, and then it runs on all your various crap. So, coming up next, we are taking our trip to Candy Mountain. We're going to get our livers cut out. It's going to be a good fucking time. CHAIRQUISITION. If you think my castle is built on sand, well, bring on the tide, because you can fuck off and die. This is Charlie Murder. We're throwing chairs at it this week. It's from Ska Studios, ported by the lovely, sexy, flippity jibbo, Mr. Ethan Lee. It's on the FNA engine, effing right. You can pick it up for around 10 of your local wet, stinky currencies. And what is it? It's a punk rock apocalypse. A punk rockalypse. Team up with your friends. Lead and battered punk rock band Charlie Murder in their epic quest to save the world from rival death metalers, War Quaffer, and their legions of evil. So let's kick off the CHAIRQUISITION. We got the 1 chair is garbage, 2 chairs is meh, 3 chairs is pretty good, 4 chairs is great. And we got our categories of doom mixed with the working shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's kick this off. Then, Charlie Murder, did it work?
Well, yes, kind of maybe. If I put my hood on, maybe I could think correctly. Let's see if this helps out.
Heresy!
Oh, no. Everything's been fouled to death and back. Over here on the Ubuntu 1604. Running the old antiquated octa-core 8150, powered by a 980 NVIDIA card displayed at UHD 3840 by 2160. Check this out, man. I mean, like with most things from flibbity jibbity bidabida bada boo boo, yeah, ran without a hitch in single player. Because unfortunately, as our 2 playthroughs that were both streamed live, turns out that multiplayer is still something that rhymes with a hot mess. More about that in the fun section, definitely. So, here's the thing. If you're going to be playing multiplayer, you're going to have issues. Single player, wicked smooth. No problem. So, I can't give it 4, absolute not. Can't give it 3 because, one of the featured, advertised features of the game doesn't work. But I can give it 2 because there's nothing groundbreaking, game-breaking in this business.
Oh yeah, no, there'll be bugs. Oh yeah, oh yes. Local multiplayer actually works fine, but because we're all a bunch of recluses who live on the internet and have no friends in meat space, the only place that we can play video games with other humans is on the interwebs. So it's kind of a feature that you'd want, especially like Ben said, if you're going to be advertising it. So on Fedora 24, 64-bit, with the i7 6700K, GTX 980, and even on the A10 5800K APU with the GTX 750 Ti, it ran acceptably well. But those multiplayer bugs, man, as fun as it is to beat the crap out of Ben and get the crap kicked out of me, it's still going to get you 2 chairs.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with online multiplayer is the fact that the game originally, when it came out for the Xbox 360, did not support online multiplayer. It was local only. So I'm guessing that's also the reason why the port took Flibbit about 3 months-ish, give or take. So yeah, there are bugs when it comes to the online multiplayer, and to Flibbit's credit, he spent like the night after the game was released, he was up all night just pushing bugs, just fixing everything. And if you go to their Steam discussion forums, you can actually see like every there were like 10 or 11 different changelog entries for every single time that he pushed a bug that night. So for me, on my end, with the FX8370E and the GTX 1080, I didn't have any issues in single player, but multiplayer was very much bugged. So I'll give it 3 chairs.
All right, well, that's 2 chairs for Mixed with Working. Up next is the Shiny and the Sounds. Ven, what's up?
Hey, man, you know what? This comes from the Sultan Sanctuary human beings. I was never a huge fan of the aesthetics of Sultan Sanctuary, but for whatever reason, I can kind of dig this. It's a hand-drawn beat-em-up, so I'm kind of sold on that. My only real complaints, sometimes it's a wee bit too easy if you're looking in the video right now to lose track of your character. And kind of like what we were talking about Thursday, the soundtrack, it might have been before we went live, is definitely something you can put in the background and chill out with it at home. It's nothing to write home about, but it's nothing to cut down and replace with Slayer. You can kind of bob along with it. And again, I'm not saying the soundtrack's great, but it gets the job done. It's completely inoffensive. Outside of that, hey, it has punching noises, it has kicking noises, it has smashing noises, and they are all sufficiently squishy. So, what this game is going for, the visual look of it, mixed with the background noise, with the actual gameplay itself, I'll wrap it up in the fun, but for what it was going for, I think it absolutely nailed it. So I don't feel bad at all giving it a solid 4.
Yeah, no, the soundtrack is all right. Acceptable crust punk is acceptable. And the aesthetic matches the narrative really, really well. I always like hand-drawn art. I was a big fan of it with Hollow Knight. And I am a fan of it here. Yeah, going just to harp on a point that Ven had with the losing your character. A lot of it has to do with like the layering system, I find, because sometimes there isn't really a good distinction between the foreground and the background, and you'll be walking up an incline and your character will be clipping through that, and it's kind of weird. And I think that definitely contributes to some of the jank with that, especially with losing your characters, because people will come in from the foreground to cover you up, and then you can't see it, especially when they like to corner fuck you. Again, I'll get to that in the fun section. But I mean, I got to the point where they were where you have to fight the pirates. And there was a Linux user there, so do you think they know? Do you think they're onto us? Anyways, this gets 3 cheers.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of the art style in itself. I'm not a big fan of it in Sultan Sanctuary either, and I like that game very much. But the art style, you can tell that it was done by the same person, and for all my bitching about it, at least in Charlie Murder, this particular art style fits the theme really, really well. So it's not absolutely getting ding chairs for that. In fact, if I had to point out one issue with the visuals, besides losing track of your character, I'd say sometimes it's a bit hard to tell whether your punches, kicks, spells, whatever, will hit the enemy when they're slightly above or below you in that weird 2D plane. But it does get dinged a chair for the repetitive background music in some of the stages. It's not all of them, but it was enough that I just said, nope, can't deal with it. Options menu, mute the music. And it's kind of loud too. The very first time you start the game, it just does that really annoying background music for the main menu, and I was not a big fan of that. So since you're making me mute the background music, you only get 3 chairs.
Pedro doesn't understand that you're supposed to listen to punk music at a fairly loud volume. But anyways, that's 3 chairs for Shiny and the Sounds. Up next is the controls. Ven.
Hey, check it out. It's something that was meant to originally be played with the X-Clone controller, and then it just so happens that I have an X-Clone controller. Everything's mapped. It's a Flibit port. Everything can be remapped out of the box. If you're going to have a little complaint, your jump and grab buttons need to be switched. I just kind of had to do that. I mean, you could even watch, I was laughing at Jordan. I was like, yeah, Jordan's doing the same thing. He's trying to pick that up and he's jumping. Wouldn't you take care of that? But you just remap them as you can. Everything's logically laid out. I push a button, it moves. I don't expect wicked tight controls. They're not loose by any means. It's just Hollow Knight has fucking spoiled me when it comes to my benchmark, but this absolutely gets the job done. So I'm throw another 4 in its face.
Yeah, I mean, like Pedro mentioned, it's a little unclear where enemy hitboxes are in relation to you at times. You're supposed to line up the shadows underneath them, but that gets kind of a bad idea that becomes a bad idea when there's a ton of enemies on you. But hey, I mean, Ethan knows his way around controllers. On the DualShock 4, I got correct button prompts. On the Steam controller, everything worked out of the box. It's the auto magic of FNA. So I can't really complain about that, aside from, sometimes I kind of wish that you could just move around with the analog stick, because if your angle is off on the, or D-pad rather, if your angle is off on the analog stick, and you're walking down a narrow bridge, you will fall off and lose health, and that just gets really fucking annoying. So not enough to dig at a chair, so it gets 4.
Yeah. It's FNA. It gives you the option to remap all the keys, and I never really felt like the controls were an impediment to making progress in Charlie Murder, and it basically worked out of the box with the mistress over here, so 4 chairs.
All right, well, that is 4 chairs for control. Let's wrap this up. Ben, did you have fun with Charlie Murder? Jolly Murder?
What I really like most about the original Serious Sam games, stay with me here, is that they came from a time when you could give absolutely zero fucks and just make the game you wanted to play. Fortunately, with the ease of self-publishing, kind of has brought back a little bit of that magic. Case in point, that's right, what we're talking about, Charlie Murderman. It's like Battletoads, Guitar Hero, and a brawler had sex, yo. And instead of a guitar-playing frog with anger issues, you end up with what I like to call, throwing some air quotes around this, just a fuck-around game. And that's basically any game that's going to require like 80% or less of your attention while still managing to keep you hella engaged. It's something you have a conversation online or anything along that while still having fun in the game. You get your mindless brawling, but what makes Charlie Murder genuinely fun is, Mr. Murderpants, it just pulls it off by having just a little bit of something for everyone, because you do have that brawling, but you have upgradable stats, the ability to juggle stats if you like doing that shit. It has crafting in its own way, craft beering. I get it. It's kind of funny. And some legit strategy. If you're utilizing your defensive and anarchy abilities, it's all in there. It's this amalgam of like kind of sort of neat. It's amazing to see them pull it off, because normally when you take the kitchen sink approach, you end up with some funky shit. Here's the thing. You can always tell when the development team behind a game had genuine fun during that game's creation, because it bleeds into your final product. And I gotta say this, Charlie Murder bleeds in spades. Now, if you're looking for a brass tacks, a simple sentence to convince your friends, your cat, whoever, what they should think about this game, just give it to them right there. I'm going to say this. I mean, if you're looking for something to kill a little bit of time, well, kind of, sort of, doing something else, Charlie Murder's definitely worth a look. You might want to hold off until some of the bugs get squished with the multiplayer stuff, but if you have 4 controllers and a Steam box laying around, it's priced to sell, $9.99. Yeah, do it. Give it a solid 3 chairs. Kind of liked it.
Yeah, it's a competent brawl. It's a commonly done brawler with some nice flavor and a decent sense of humor. The combat's all right. It's a little flaky at times due to the attacks not lining up properly, and also enemies like to marshal you towards the corner and then get you in a fucking loop where you stand up and they hit you down, you stand up, hit you down, and then you're like, fuck, and you hit Alt F4. If Flibbit could start the online multiplayer, though, I think this could easily get 4 chairs in the fun category. I mean, it is pretty fun to beat the hell out of your friends while you're trying to get the games in sync. But yeah, and if you didn't see my end of it, but you may have saw some shadows of people just teleporting around a bunch during the network multiplayer. I did not get a chance to text local multiplayer, but I'm pretty sure that works fine, because this is something that the game natively supports to begin with. The palate cleanser segments, the Guitar Heroes and the Battletoads-esque vehicle segments are not that difficult, but they do provide a nice break from the brawler action, except for that fucking Kraken fight. My God. Because your targeting reticule just moves so fucking slow, and you got to juggle from back to forth, back to forth, and there's just not enough time to react. And it gets really, really, really annoying. You need a couple people there. Otherwise, this would just take for fucking ever. The character progression stuff is also pretty good, too, because your first instinct would be, oh, well, I just want to focus on one stat, dump everything into attack, everything into defense, whatever. But then you get the thing where a lot of the cool items that give you some neat after effects do have stat requirements. So you're going to need to do some stat juggling. The character progression stuff is also pretty decent. There are lots of abilities. You don't have to put too much thought into it. You just got to pick ones that sound cool. And for the most part, they work pretty well, except for counter. I could never seem to get that to work. But it spices up the gameplay when it starts to get monotonous. I had fun playing Charlie Murder. I think once the network multiplayer bugs get squished, this would be a really, really awesome game to play with your friends. Either way, it still gets 3 chairs.
Well, as far as single player goes, it took me about 9 hours to finish the game in normal mode. Then you can keep playing in chaos mode. That's their version of New Game Plus. But at that point, and even though I was level 28 or 29, enemies became so strong, I felt like it'd be easier to tear through a punching bag with cotton candy gloves than actually make progress. Now, if you want to get the good ending in the first run, you either get a friend to equip the relic items that you need in order to summon the final boss proper, or you need to grind your way up to level 30 or 32, I can't remember which one it was, that lets you unlock the 3rd layer of the relic equipping skill. So I'm not sure if I'm going to bother to go back to the normal difficulty just to see the good ending. I might, but right now I don't feel like it. I'm not saying that to imply that the game wasn't fun, because it was very, very fun. Combat gets a little button mashy in some sequences and boss fights, but I never really felt like I wasn't making an impact. For as little damage as I dealt, it still did those freeze frames. It still sent enemies flying all the way across the screen. And for all those times I've bitched and moaned about combat not feeling particularly meaty, Charlie Murder quells all my complaints in that regard. It would have been better if I didn't feel like I had the need to grind in order to be able to get the good ending, or if the enemies didn't feel so overpowered in New Game Plus. This, of course, in single player. In multiplayer, that's not the issue. The big issue in multiplayer is the amount of progress stalling bugs that kept Jordan from progressing through certain area transitions. And yes, I'll echo what Jordan and Ven already said. Fix those online multiplayer issues, and this is easily a 4-chair game for the fun. But as it currently stands, it only gets 3.
All right, well, that gets 3 games for the CHAIRQUISITION. I see what you did there. Yeah, this is 3 chairs for fun. Tallies up to a 3-chair game. It's pretty good. I'd recommend it. What about you guys?
The price, it's very ambitious to take something that was not online multiplayer to begin, and to move it to that, almost pulled it off. Now, I'm fully confident that Flibbit will patch yo shit and eventually get it in a fluid working state. So, looking forward to that. At the price, maybe you just want to pick it up to fuck around. Like I said, multiplayer party game, it will do that.
Yeah, and even if you're not picking it up for the multiplayer, I've come to realize that Ska Studios, I like their games, because this one came out in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. The other one they released recently, Vampire Dishwasher, or Dishwasher, the Vampire Smile, whatever it's called.
Vampire the Dishwasher washing.
Whatever it's called, and Salt and Sanctuary, they all feel very similar, and I like all of them. I think I'm a Ska Studios fanboy. Now, it would be really awesome if Flibbit could fix the multiplayer, though. That would just be the proverbial cherry on the cake.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that, and for a little different reason. If Flibbit can actually figure out a way to combine the fabled local multiplayer and network multiplayer, that would be pretty freaking nuts, because games like Towerfall, there were a lot of FNA games that would be really, really, really fun if I could play them with people not in my house. And I'm really hoping he can pull that off, because that would just be amazing. So, coming up next, ooh, I'm dying. It's bad. It's really bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's about time we wrap this up. So, let's get to the hate mail. Yes, this is that time of the show where you get to scream in our direction after we've basically been giving you all of our disparaging remarks about your favorite games. Yes, you'd like to tell us we're wrong. A lot of people do. You can do so by going over to LinuxGameCast.com. You hit the contact button on the navbar. It's pretty easy. Fill out the form. Make sure you pick LGC Weekly from the little drop-downy thing. Otherwise, you'll be sending feedback for that Wednesday show, What Me, Ven, and Strider Do. So it's pretty easy. It's only got a little bit of a CAPTCHA down below that you have to fill in just to prevent even more spam. We get a lot of spam. So if you're not a spammer, and chances are people this week are not spammers because I actually saw these comments, well, at least one comment on YouTube. Yes. Michael Speth himself. He's the one that loves Dota 2. He keeps on trying to get us to play it. But it's not going to happen. And he says, Dying Light is worth the asking price. I have played through both the original and the last expansion. It's best zombie game on PC. I personally enjoyed the story. I think a VR mode would be icing on the cake. First of all, you'd need to get VR running decently in Linux, and then there's also the fact that that game doesn't support Vulkan, so no VR there.
You can totally do OpenGL VR if you hate yourself. And if you want to inflict suffering on both yourself and your players, that is definitely a thing. Then, being the only one here who actually played Dying Light, do you agree with this guy?
The fuck ever. I've played the initial room that if I looked into the wrong corner, I would get 12 FERPs.
So you're the authority on the game.
Okay.
Right?
Being the authority on Dying Light, I'm glad I got a refund. Maybe it's a great game. We would actually look into playing it if they had a big sticker on it and said, we've unfucked our multiplayer. Because that'd be great, because let's face it, Deep Silver, Dying Light, none of the fucking multiplayers work right. We've done entire episodes of us just trying to connect.
Are they using the same engine for Dying Light as Dead Island?
The new definitive edition, yes.
Okay, so then, yeah, it's probably pretty
Hey,
busted.
man, it is expensive. Maybe if they get performance sorted, I don't know. I mean, zombie parkour, I'd do it. It might be fun. It might be great. Well, why were we talking about it last week, Pedro? I forget.
Because I believe someone... we actually had a story about Deep Silver, and...
Oh, right, Dead Island 2 was not dead.
Dead Island 2 is still being developed. That's the one. And I think you were the one who brought up Dying Light, so yeah, that explains that, I guess.
I mean, I would love it if it came out, because, I mean, something I think it would be very fun. We definitely were, this is why we tried it, because we were going to make it a Patreon goal, is to do the entire playthrough of Dead Island, the remastered Yellow Swag edition. It's like, that's a fun game, man. But multiplayer is laughably... Charlie Murder, A++ multiplayer compared to...
Those are some harsh words. But up next, we got stuff from Evandro. He says, "Damn, Ben, you put 5 dudes on the left audio channel only." Which I gotta say, left 5 dudes. You're welcome, Valve. Pay me money.
So, a little bit of background. Thanks to Bradley, who showed up our second pile audio cancelatotron. We've been recording the show. Haven't said anything about it, but we've been doing it in stereo, like legit stereo. We're not talking about Vince Stone stereo. For like the past 3 weeks, without really anyone noticing, it's just better quality because we're getting the stereo sound in and everything's in processed, which means I eventually have to go back and change like the Bwam intro and the 5 dudes at the end of this LinuxGameCast Weekly, because those were recorded. I didn't even record them in mono. I just threw everything on the left channel and mixed it down to mono. I forgot to do that, and the trick will be seeing whether or not I remember to fix it tomorrow.
Probably not. Probably not.
No, it's just about Jordan's comment left 5 dudes. It got me thinking. Valve managed to skip 3s altogether by creating left 4 dead.
Because Valve can't count to 3, bruh.
They managed to, I mean, it took me a while to even see that. It's like, wow, they bypassed the 3 completely. They had Team Fortress 2.
Valve, straight up next level trolls, dude.
Yeah, or maybe you're overthinking this 5-dimensional chess shit. I don't know.
Hey man, if I could ever have enough drugs to play 5D chess, I'd be all for it. And I think that's a great place to cue the music, because you can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Time, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. It's pretty damn late in UTC is what it is, son. Check us out on the schedule. We got all that business up there. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the bell if you want the notification. And every time we go live, because this isn't the only thing, we got a Wednesday show, Tuesday show, and Thursday show. There's a lot of us to be put in your face work, and it's kind of brilliant. We all kind of rotate in and out. We do enjoy it, but I'm at Vin Stone on Twitter. Scream at me there. I might follow you back if you post something interesting. And plus Vin Stone on that G+. Come join the cascade of people who comment on my thingies.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me all the way up on Candy Mountain at The Running Fool on Twitter, plus Jordan Svung on Google+.
I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter, usually following back people who follow me if they post interesting stuff. I mean, that's kind of the only requirement. If you post stuff I like, I follow you right back. It's really not that hard. And chances are I'm probably not going to follow you back on Google+. That's plus Pedro Mateos. But that's just because whenever I go to see some, I don't know if it's a Google+ thing or what, but I can never see their posts, so I usually don't follow anyone back.
So I guess at the end of the day, just remember, before you die in a fire, have another delicious Dr. Thunder. Totes not a sponsor.
Only diet, though. If you drink the sugared one, you can just go straight to hell.
I mean, I like my soda.
You're going to hell, Pedro!
Mix it with whiskey and I'll drink soda, sure.
Going to hell.
Totes going to hell, man. I've been there, and I must admit, I like what I saw.
Yeah, no, if we are going to get a sponsorship from random food product type stuff, I want me some
5 dudes.